Regressor of the Fallen Family, Chapter 30. In my previous life, the reason why the Teslan family caused a territorial conflict only became clear a year after it had ended. It was at that point the Teslans started exporting gold from their territory, which came from a newly established mine on a mountain originally part of the MacLine territory. The Teslans of my previous life built a force surpassing that of an ordinary count's family because of this. That was until Logan MacLine, an aura user burning with revenge, annihilated their family. It was not known how Haman Teslan discovered the gold vein in my previous life, and even in this life Logan could not confirm the process. The only clue was when they captured Teslan Castle. They found a group of self-proclaimed mining experts in the dungeons. "We are innocent. We only extracted gold from the ore brought by Baron Teslan as per our contract, but then that brutal noble locked us up here." Regardless of the process, it meant that Haman Teslan had discovered a gold vein and Logan knew its location. So what did he need now? Just technicians who can set up a mine and extract gold. Finding someone with specialized knowledge in mining, not just an ordinary miner, was challenging. However, that difficult task had already been accomplished by Haman Teslan. Logan simply promised them slightly more money than Teslan did, and the contract was quickly settled. Let's go and check it out. Without delay, Logan, Hammer, and the 5 mining experts headed west and rode horseback for half a day. Naturally, their destination was the mountainside that Logan had won as a reward. Here, in the middle of this mountain, lies a gold vein. I aim to mine and establish a mine here. How much do you think the estimate for this will be? Logan asked nonchalantly as he turned around, and the experts, all wearing incredulous expressions, responded. "Are you certain there's a gold vein? Even if there is, we need to know the reserves. The cost will vary depending on the depth of the strata. The location of the tunnels will differ. Depending on the case, the cost might multiply by dozens of times." As soon as the conversation about their area of expertise began, a flurry of opinions emerged. Ultimately, what they all wanted to say was the same. "How can you be certain there's a gold vein here? And even if you are, can it produce enough gold to be worth the investment? What's the basis for your claim?" However, Logan's answer was simple and disappointing. "I'm certain. I've seen it. Dig no matter what." The group of 5 mining experts, who had been promised more than 1,000 gold a month, and the dwarves, who had to roll up their sleeves and work for no pay, simultaneously scowled at this absurd proclamation. Because of the need for secrecy, Hammer and the 5 mining experts, a total of 6, had to proceed with the drilling work. Naturally, the stakeholders were not pleased. "We're supposed to do the drilling with just 6 of us? Are you trying to kill us?" Even with a dwarf present. Moreover, since they were originally not convinced by Logan's words, the work progressed slowly. However, before long, they found a tunnel most likely excavated by Haman Teslan, and the work became shockingly easy, almost as if it were a joke. In just 15 days, the small group of miners extracted gold from the ore they unearthed. After recalculating the potential output, they reached a unanimous decision. It's possible to extract at least 10 tons of gold a year. The reserve's volume is incalculable. Only upon hearing that news could Logan fully cheer. From a ton of ore, we can extract more than 100 grams of gold. With this level of purity, there's a high chance of finding larger nuggets deeper in the strata. 100 grams from a ton? By gram? A mine is considered profitable even with just 30 grams. Everything was rated better than expected, but the initial investment turned out to be slightly higher. You'll need a substantial investment to start. You should expect at least 5 million gold. The amount included costs for equipment to extract gold from ore, furnaces, manpower to dig the tunnels, supports, as well as transportation equipment. If it were a territory with many serfs or slaves, they could be put to work to save money. However, given the nature of the MacLine territory, where most were free people, they needed to spend more money for the necessary labor. "Master, the family doesn't have money right now. Maybe we should reveal the situation to other noble families or merchant associations and receive investments?" Hammer's suggestion sounded reasonable to anyone. The mining experts beside him nodded in agreement, but Logan flatly refused. "Let others dip their spoons in the gold mine on my land? No way. Then what do you plan to do?" "I have that kind of money." "What? Where will you?" Logging such an amount of money was unheard of for a remote territory like MacLane's. The incredulity of his listeners was palpable, yet Logan's expression remained confident he had something to rely on. Click. Whir. As the personal vault opened, dazzling jewels greeted their owner with their radiant luminance. An immense collection of jewels in the private quarters of a son of a noble in a remote territory was not fitting. Logan, looking at those jewels, couldn't help but let a corner of his mouth rise smugly. It's a good thing I had saved them. These jewels were precious metals that Haman Teslan intended to abscond with. Logan had taken them after dealing with Teslan not for personal gain, but for righteous reasons, though it was still a mystery why Haman Teslan had amassed so many jewels. I'm grateful, though. Despite moving nearly 4 million gold worth of jewels, the vast quantity meant it went unnoticed. Sigh, still, it's a shame that I have to use almost all of this. On top of those jewels, he would have to invest most of his existing wealth into the mine's development. If you're willing to grind people down and carve out the tunnels with blood, you might be able to save about 2 million. Such was the implicit message behind Hammer's gaze when he said that. Logan naturally rejected the notion with a wave of his hand. He didn't desire such a mining development, and there was another crucial reason not to proceed this way. Moral and ethical issues aside, I can't afford to tarnish the reputation for the sake of earning money with regards to the future. The war with the Empire is the key issue. It can't be overcome with just the strength of the nobility. Whether he became a small variable or the pivot point, the nation's full strength had to be harnessed. That meant it was time to be mindful of public perceptions too. With that mindset, Logan tasked the disposal of the precious metals and the mine's development. But for a stable mine development, utmost attention must be paid to safety from the moment the initial tunnels are drilled. Please be patient, as it will take some time. According to Hammer, that preparation period alone would take about half a year. Even after that, another half a year would be needed before profitable mining could begin. Yes, it took Teslan a year too. I had anticipated that. Trying to comfort himself with the thought, Logan couldn't help feeling anxious about the money draining away now that the burden of the territorial war had eased. Just 1 year of mining will bring in profits tens of times over. I can't give up. With 1 full year of proper mining, he could extract at least 10 tons of gold. Rough estimates indicated that could be worth about 100 million gold, a staggering sum necessitating the investment. But he needed funds to supplement the money flowing out until the mine was developed. If only I could sell that right now. He still had another weapon in his possession, the Karok meat, which remained intact. However, to sell that, he would have to wait until the year after next. Once the antidote was released in the summer and the Karok meat became edible, and after the rumors spread and it expanded, it would take that much time. From then until the beginning of the Civil War, he planned to sell it frantically for 6 months, and if there was still a shortage, he would even. Wait, why do I have to wait? As he continued thinking, Logan realized that he might be missing something. The antidote that would be released in the summer had been used countless times during his mercenary days. It was something he could make himself as well. The only problem was that it required a considerable amount of ingredients. Then, if I make it myself. A spark of inspiration showed him a new path. It felt as if a bright light shone before his eyes. Logan requested strict confidentiality from the 5 mining experts and Hammer. While Hammer could be trusted, he wasn't so sure about the mining specialists. So he even made a magical contract for a handsome sum of 50,000 gold. He promised a relatively high wage to the locals he was bringing in for the initial development, and decided to provide them with lodgings and food in barracks. As the money continued to seep away, Logan's heart grew more restless. What if something goes wrong? Should I just wait for the rumors to spread as in my previous life? Whenever such thoughts crept in, he pushed himself. Time won't solve anything if you just wait for it. Win or lose, I'll try. We have received simultaneous reports of the outbreak of war and its conclusion. I am relieved to know you are unharmed. Why do you look troubled? It's nothing. Is there any other news? Your orders are proceeding without any trouble. The Karok meat is now being collected on a large scale, so you should soon receive a considerable amount. Philip's face, appearing through what seemed like a communication device, was blurry but confident. Well, I'll trust you with that. Also, I have another request. Please tell me. From now on, Purchase the following herbs I tell you and send them to MacLine territory. Evening primrose and plot herb, and also licky grass. About 500 kilos in total with equal proportions will be enough. Excuse me? Why those cheap herbs? Just do it. You'll know why soon enough. Ha, every time, it's always vague. Did you get that? Can I cut the communication now? No. Could you at least give me a reason instead of being so abrupt? Shut it. I can't waste expensive magical communication just to explain things. I'll explain when we meet next. All right, I understand. Good. If there's any issue, request communication to this coordinate. I already have the family's permission, so it should be fine. I suppose your reputation has really improved. Click. Static. You could at least wait to hear the rest of what I had to say. Dwayne clicked his tongue as he listened, but Logan remained unfazed. There's no need to listen to obvious things through magical communication that costs 1 gold per second. Hey, Your Highness, you seem to have plenty of money. Why be so stingy? Quiet. I'm totally broke right now and quite irritable. Pardon? No matter how much money you have, it's never enough with an uncertain future. What? Dwayne was at a loss for words upon hearing Logan, supposed to be the richest individual in the MacLine territory with an estimated fortune of over 1 million gold, speak such a statement. A week later, the herbs sent by Kyle began to pile up in the storeroom of the southern villa, and without delay, Logan started producing the antidote. What are you making? Quiet. If I tell you to do something, just do it. But shouldn't you explain the reason before giving orders? I'm not using any bad drugs like the old days, so don't worry and just do it. Have I been doing any needless things lately? That's true, but... Those words slightly eased the dumbfounded expression on Patrick's face. Logan could still feel his concern that he might take the wrong path, and although it brought a wry smile to his face, no one else came to mind who was trustworthy and competent enough for the job. Together with Patrick, Logan ground the 3 herbs in equal proportions and placed them in wooden barrels. He then filled them up with about half the amount of water, mixed them, and stored them neatly in a dark corner of the warehouse. Meanwhile, the massive supply that Philip had spoken of entered the MacLine territory.
Chapter 31. With a thunderous clatter, a team of 10 horses entered the MacLine territory, pulling a wagon and a cart loaded with goods, large as houses. The heavy weight was evident as the wheel tracks were clearly carved into the ground. Although the direction taken by the mercenary guards and the cargo was clear, nobody dared to approach the vicinity. Ugh, that smell! Even from this distance, the stench is quite pungent. How can dried meat smell so bad? They say it's monster meat. Is that the... Did the young lord really indulge in such a grotesque act? The rumors that he gained strength from drinking monster blood. Shut your mouth, you fool. Quiet. You want to get us all in trouble? The murmurs grew louder as the largest shipment of Karok meat since the last trade arrived at the storage. It's definitely divine timing now. What? Rick, who had been covering his nose from the foul smell, looked up in confusion. I was planning to use what we made yesterday here. What? Bring that barrel, though you won't be able to lift it. I'll carry it. Just get ready. Ready for what? I didn't hear anything about this. We're doing it now. Do I really have to come? Of course! With a loud groan of disgust, Rick had never visited the warehouse since they started collecting Karok meat, unaware of the reason for his own strong reaction. But as they opened the door to the warehouse filled with Karok meat, the reason became painfully evident. No explanation was needed for the incredible stench that assaulted their noses and brains, with an odor far worse than anything they had encountered outside. Ooeek! Logan might have thrown up on the spot if Rick, vomiting a step behind him, hadn't beaten him to it. Having somewhat calmed himself by shutting down his sense of smell through force control, Logan saw Rick giving him a resentful glare with his pale, vomit-stricken face. Cough. Now sprinkle this neutralizer on the Karok meat. You'll see the color lighten with just a small amount, just enough to make the surface completely white. The black parts contain remaining toxins. Be cautious. Do I really have to? Am I not doing it too? Rick, nearly in tears, reluctantly helped until about 100 kilos of meat turned white. Now grind it into round tablets. As if he had given up on everything, Rick did not utter another complaint. However, as they created hundreds of tiny round pills, Rick couldn't help but grow curious about what all his efforts were for. Why did we make these? Don't they look like medicine? Yes. Good. We're going to sell them as such. What? Rick's eyes widened in horror, but his shock was not the end of it. Remember what we did today? No, I remember nothing. What did we do? Ha, ha, ha. Sensing an ominous premonition, Rick forced a strained smile. You look like you remember just fine. Ugh. It was impossible to deceive the keen eyes of Logan, who had been together as sworn brothers, or more precisely, his sworn follower for over 10 years. And so Rick was forced to hear what he dreaded most. This will be your task moving forward. I refuse. Rick, who had never shied away from difficult tasks in his past life, and eventually met his end on the executioner's block, firmly refused the order. Rick, you're the only one I can trust. I absolutely refuse. Rick, don't you trust me? I don't want to trust you. Screaming as if he had lost his mind, Rick ran away. In the end, Logan was only able to assign the task to his begrudging servant by promising a bonus of 100 gold a week. Of course, that was not the end of it. I suppose I'll have to test it. Just kill me. I really can't do it. I'd rather die. With a look of desperation, Rick vehemently protested. But luckily, or perhaps unfortunately, Rick wasn't the one Logan was looking for as a test subject. You're useless to me, and you'll continue to be. Of course, it's not you. Oh, thank goodness. Thank you. Huh? While Rick couldn't fully comprehend what was being discussed, he had a feeling that it was unpleasant and gave his master a sideways glance. Logan quickly changed the subject. Do you know of anyone around us who struggles with night duties? Huh? Night duties. Why, like someone who doesn't have children, or a chaste spouse, or a married man who's always slumping his shoulders in the morning. What are you talking about? Ah, this, Logan eventually had to resort to using profane hand gestures he learned during his mercenary days to explain nighttime activities. Rick, catching on quickly, suggested a candidate for the experiment. Administrator Dwayne hasn't had any children yet. It's been 10 years since his marriage. He was so happy to marry a young bride back then, but these days, he's just working late all the time. Ah? Who would have guessed that the sturdy man had such a sad predicament? Logan decided Dwayne would be the first subject of his experiment. Huh? It's something really good for men. Really? Don't you get it? It's this. Ah. How did it come to be that even cultured people could only understand hand gestures instead of words? Dwayne, with a confused look, glanced back and forth between the mysterious pill in his hand and Logan's face. Is it true? Yeah, it works after just one pill. It's a patented product from Phillips's shop in Kyle, To be exact, it's more accurate to say it will become famous and patented, but Logan was confident. It's already proven anyway. But why he was experimenting on Dwayne was something Logan willingly ignored. Sure, I've heard of it, but I haven't tried it myself. Although he felt a twinge of guilt, Logan had confirmed that at least the toxicity of the monster had been neutralized. It would be great if dogs could talk. He had even conducted his own animal experiments, and that was Logan's last shred of conscience. Really? Are you serious? Of course. If it doesn't work, I'll donate 1,000 gold to Dwayne. No, to the family. Oh, you're really going to donate? Even amid this conversation, Dwayne seemed more interested in the family story than receiving money himself, adding to Logan's burden of conscience. It's a win-win situation. In fact, it wasn't an entirely incorrect thought, so Logan reassured himself. It was already a late evening, and in the dimly lit study, where one couldn't see without turning on the lamp, a large man spread out the ledger alone, looking pitiful for some reason. Right, all of this was because Dwayne was pitiful. You might have presbyopia, so go into the house quickly. Ah ha ha ha, there's still some work to do. Hey, finish that later. This is really expensive. You won't get it even if you pay later. It would indeed become expensive, and you wouldn't be able to get it even if you paid for it later. Is that so? Dwayne's certain expressions seemed to have accepted it somewhat. And the next day, young Lord Logan. Seeing the bright-faced Dwayne running towards him in broad daylight, Logan was assured of success. How much is that medicine? How much? With a much stronger reaction than he expected, Logan handed him a set of 10, expressing his apologies for the human experiment. Dwayne knelt down to accept the small box as if receiving a legendary sword. It revealed a side of his large physique that had accumulated a fragile history. Even with just his reaction, the potential seemed sufficient, but Logan conducted 2 more experiments for caution. Surprisingly, Heinkel, who turned out to be another man with his head bowed, smiled and laughed a day after receiving the medicine as a gift. And finally, what is this? It's a good medicine for men. It was the first gift Logan ever presented to his father in 2 lifetimes, including his past life, and its effect became apparent just 3 days after that. Logan. Yes? Well done. Awkwardly looking away and patting his shoulder, his hand showed a slightly reddened face. Seeing his father's face, Logan felt a sense of pride. If I do well, I might end up with a younger sibling. In a pleased smile, Logan was confident in the value of the product and called out to someone who could make proper use of it. However, the merchant was shocked upon hearing the price Logan called out. How much are you selling it for? 100 gold per individual. I plan to sell sets of 10 for 1,000 gold. Do you think nobles are ignorant fools to buy it at that price? Perhaps. Still, I'm confident it will sell. Even in the conservative Grandia kingdom, there were nobles with some flexibility who had separate governments or lovers. Many nobles in the city-state of the Ares Empire, with more liberal views, had even more extravagant private lives. Naturally, due to their loose lifestyles, many of them faced problems in their sexual functions. When considering that the greatest pleasure in the lives of such people was their sexual life, if Karok's meat could effectively enhance their performance, substantial profits could be earned. In my past life, it was so expensive because of the nobles. Of course, the price of a single pill, 30 that Logan was trying to sell now was more expensive than the highest price before the extinction of Karok in his past life. However, you don't have to advertise it actively. Really? You don't need to advertise it, and you don't need to buy it yourself. Do you know how many nobles in the capital have sexual problems? I bet it's swarming with rumors like bees without even advertising. Those playboys will find and buy it themselves. Then we can compete on the price. Wait a moment. We? Yeah, because you're going to sell it. Do you mean you'll really donate? Despite Philip's concerns, Logan confidently replied, Don't worry, it's effective, and there are no side effects. He's so confident after only 3 experiments. Though Philip's point was not entirely wrong, Logan shook his head. Just believe me, it's effective, and you'll be able to push any business you want. Thank you. Then think about how to sell it. To the nobles in the capital. Pardon? Regressor of the Fallne family. Chapter 32. Didn't you say you knew someone? You spoke as if you're familiar with the capital. I have absolutely no connections. So, you're saying you're trying to sell an unproven drug to the nobility without any connections, and I have to figure out a way. Is that what you're saying? Yes. At Logan's casual response, Philip temporarily lost his words. If this goes wrong, Logan might be fine, but I'm surely done for. Don't worry about it. You say that as if it's not your life on the line. What was that? Nothing. To make noble connections, a party is indeed the best option. Party? A party, huh? Yes, but I'm a commoner and can't attend noble parties, so at least Logan should. Me? You're telling me to go to a party? The MacLine family, hardly in a position to afford a party, never had such an experience, and in his previous life, the only parties he knew were disorderly victory celebrations, with plenty of mercenaries and few knights. That alone was a troublesome enough request, but there was more. Even if you attend a party and make connections, it will take time before those are useful for business. You can't just sell there either. Selling directly? Ho. Not to put a damper on your plans, but really, you shouldn't do that. Not just for Logan's sake, but also for the reputation of the MacLine family within social circles. No, that's not what I'm talking about. As long as we're not selling, it should be fine. Excuse me? With a rising sense of foreboding, Philip asked in a concerned tone. Thanks to you, I've got a great idea. Let's meet in the capital. Me too. I have work to do here. It'll take a week to arrive. We'll meet inside the west gate of Gran in a week's time in the morning. Logan, are you even listening to? Crack. Click. Contrary to Philip's desperate cry, Logan, who seemed lost in thought, stepped out of the communication room with notably light steps. Are you going out again? Yes. After such a significant event, I need time to calm my shocked spirit. You do? Yes. The big son, suddenly requesting a meeting, gave an absurdly nonchalant excuse, making Patrick sigh. Well, where do you plan to go? To the capital for a bit. The capital? Yes. And you're saying you're going to a large city to calm your mind? To broaden my horizons. I'm supposed to believe that? Yes. Patrick couldn't hide his astonishment, but saw no movement on his son's unfazed face. I can't exactly tell him I'm going to sell aphrodisiacs in the capital. Even if it was a profitable item, it wouldn't sit well with the trade guild without intermediaries, and certainly not if he announced such personal business ambitions. He'd object, citing the family's dignity. So the best approach was sheer brazenness. Fine. You must have something in mind. Go ahead. To his surprise, he was granted permission rather easily. Thankfully, his reputation built on prior achievements was still solid enough. The capital was uncharted territory in his current life. The prospect of a noble son, with no servants in tow, driving a carriage loaded with nearly 2,000 boxes, caused a bit of an issue within the family. Due to his demonstrated performance in the war, no one dare oppose Logan's assertive insistence. Thanks to that, for the first time in a while, Logan could prepare to sleep alone under the starry night sky, using the road as his bed. It's inevitable. Rick has to work. If reliable Rick, already tired from daily labor in the warehouse, had heard this, he would have been exasperated. Logan wanted to keep the relationship between the meat from Karok and this medication a secret for as long as possible, because he still lacked completely trustworthy confidants. Still sorry about that. Logan did have a conscience. All right, its name shall henceforth be Impo-Rick. He named the abundant results produced by Rick's hard work after him. The Rick that cures impotence. Nice! At that moment, Rick, barely able to sleep from exhaustion, shivered with an inexplicable chill. People were crowded densely in front of the city gate, leaving hardly any space to set foot. Even from a great distance, where they appeared as mere dots, the gates and walls of the city were impressively majestic. They seemed like dwarves entering the castle of giants. Such was the overwhelming size of the Grandia Castle of the 1,000-Year Kingdom. The massive walls, reaching 20 meters high and periodically enhanced by protective magic, had withstood a millennium, neither crumbling nor wearing down easily. In Tales, even the aura of aura users supposedly couldn't easily scratch the city walls. That may be an exaggeration. Remembering the walls falling helplessly in his previous life, Logan felt uncomfortable, as they now seemed to emphasize the Empire's might. And that feeling intensified as the walls drew near, and the bustling crowd grew denser. The capital, with a resident population of 1 million and a transient population exceeding 2 million, is the largest and most important city in the eastern part of the continent. For the people of the Grandia Kingdom, The capital, grand, was a symbol and a source of pride representing a millennium of history. A fort constructed in the distant past, unlike anything possessed by the Ares Empire. Still, Logan's view of it was entirely different. Staring at the gates reminded him of the scene where the gates fell and countless people perished. Ugh! Leaving the burnt MacLine castle behind, the frantic charge toward the capital, at the sight of his brother's dear face, falling broken before the very western gate. Meironian, and the memory of powerlessly watching his younger brother dragged away amid the chaos. Crunch. Never again, Winnie. Ah! Involuntarily tightening his grip on the reins, the horses reared up as if startled. Careful! Move away! The ensuing commotion forced the people to retreat. Master Logan. The county disturbance allowed his meeting party, waiting inside, to spot him sooner. So what will you do now? First, I need to make a list of customers. Customers? A list of nobles with erectile dysfunction. Can you get it? Philip stared at Logan, incredulous. Is there such a thing? Right? They'd keep that secret, yeah? Of course. Obviously. Wait, you don't mean... Exactly. In a place like the capital, there will be those who sell such secrets. And thus began Logan's venture into sales. Those who dig for secrets, the real information guilds, often collect private information from the shadows. The customers are chosen carefully, and if anything feels off, they're ready to sever ties and disappear. Among those info guilds, Nox, one of the most notable, had a branch in Grand. How did you know all that? No need for you to know. Just stay here and rest. I'll be back soon. No, I'll come too. Despite the offer of a safe stay, Philip's voice trembled slightly as he insisted on joining Logan to a potentially dangerous destination. However, his eyes shone with genuine desire. Every merchant knew the value of information. For all magnates, establishing ties with a competent information guild was a must, the dream of all traders. You might die in a dangerous place. I'll stay put. Philip's surrender was swift. Nothing mattered more than his own life. Smirking at his response, Logan hurried off. Although Logan had arranged for an expensive 50 gold a night accommodation in the inner city, the place he cautiously sought out was located in the slums outside the eastern walls of the outer city. With the western rise of the Ares Empire transforming it into the new trade center, those with wealth and power migrated westward. The impoverished left behind could not afford to move, and were mostly the poorest of the poor. Many such people gathered on the outskirts of Grandia's east side, where criminals escaping justice or societal misfits mingled, forming a slum. But the corrupt upper class did nothing for the trash they had created, leaving them to their decay. It led to an escalation in lawlessness, and soon enough, the area was given up on by the state, becoming the ultimate lawless land. Even at high noon, an ominous aura pervaded the place. The unsightly side of Grand, hidden by the grandeur of the inner city and its busy outer areas. Nox's Grand Branch was hidden deeper within this lawless expanse. If you look weak, you'll be stripped down to your intestines in an instant. Logan ignored the beggars reaching out asking for coins as he confidently strode down the alleys of the lawless zone. Though the notion of a shadowy guild remaining in one place for long was laughable, Nox wouldn't move their branch that easily. It was an open secret, in a sense. Being the most renowned information guild in the continent meant a constant stream of clients. If they moved each time an issue arose, they'd struggle to service their clientele. Fortunately, Logan's guess was correct. Knock, 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 knock. After rapping on the door of an abandoned building in a particular pattern, a slot in the door slid open. Blue eyes peeked out, voicing their annoyance. What do you want? Nox. Password. Lunai. Chech. Wait. Luckily, not only Nox's location, but also the password remained unchanged from his previous life. The only difference was that he had to wait outside for well over an hour. That reason, of course, was reasonably predictable. Come in. The abandoned building's interior was deceptively spacious, and the underground was even more expansive. The nondescript middle-aged man inside greeted Logan as he opened and stepped through a worn door. "Welcome, young Lord Logan MacLine, coming all the way from the southwestern fringes of the kingdom. What business brings you here?" Logan wasn't surprised to be instantly recognized by a stranger. Rather, he found it reassuring that Knox could verify his identity within an hour, a testament to their capability. "I've come to an information guild to buy information. Why else? Oh ho. And who may have provided you with our branch location and password?" "That's something for your side to figure out." Regardless of their inquiry, no answer would come of it. With a relaxed expression, Logan sat across from the middle-aged man at the table. "All right then. As long as the price is right, why should we care? What do you want?" "First, the list of nobles who have married in the last 10 years but have no children. Second, nobles without concubines or mistresses. Third, nobles who often seek foods touted for improving virility. Focused on those residing in the capital." "Excuse me?" Logan was probing for a list of nobles with potential erectile dysfunction, suspecting Knox might have such information. Even if they had such sensitive details that could undermine a noble, they wouldn't sell them cheaply. For a high-grade noble secret, they might not sell at all to avoid backlash. So instead of going straight for the hardest info, Logan asked for information that he himself could use to infer the delicate details. "Is it difficult?" "Not difficult, but why do you seek this?" "Would it count towards my payment if I told you?" "We will accept your request." And the deal was made. Knox delivered the information the very next day. The competency wasn't surprising, but the cost surely was. Shockingly so, but not in a good way. "This sort of almost rumor-like information cost me 900 gold, 3 thin booklets." Philip picked up the booklets, each no more than a centimeter thick, with an astonished look. "Yes, Knox is expensive indeed. If we had the time, we could have done this. You pay to save time. Now just focus on finding the people who match all 3 criteria, and those who match 2. Yes, with the merchant from his past life learning from a mercenary's past life. Targets became apparent before even a few hours had passed. Regressor of the Fallne Family, Chapter 33. As a member of the traditional royalist faction, the House of Count Davis was a distinguished family from the Grandia Kingdom. Although they did not own any fief, they had served as the finance minister for 2 generations. The current head of the family, Count Fallne Davis, at the young age of 25, was serving as a clerk in the Ministry of Finance. It was expected that within the next decade, they would boast having 3 consecutive generations in the role of finance minister. Hence, there were always plenty of people trying to curry favor with the Count's household, and given the number of guests, parties were often held. Thanks to this, the Davis estate was always bustling with overflowing guests. "Oh, I've never seen a flame emblem before. House of Baron MacLine. Very well. Please, come in." The gatekeeper of Count Davis's estate, having verified the flame emblem on the silver identification badge, allowed Logan in. Although not a knight but a mere soldier, the gatekeeper, nearly sneering with a semi-polite tone, gestured for Logan to proceed. As the saying goes, the servant reflects the master, and so even the soldier felt at liberty to be dismissive towards the lower nobility. Seeing this as nothing out of the ordinary, Logan nonchalantly wrote his name in the guest book and entered the grandiose mansion. The gardens were expansive, and the mansion, more extensive than the inner stronghold of the MacLine estate, seemed convoluted enough that a newcomer might easily get lost. But Logan didn't need to ask for directions, as the grand music flowing from the party hall naturally led him. Before entering the party venue, Logan was required to present his identification badge once again, because the 2 knights guarding the entrance seemed skeptical upon observing his awkward evening wear and anxious expression. "Ah, my apologies. Please enjoy the exquisite culture of the capital, dear sir." Though the officials confirmed his identity, their demeanor didn't seem too friendly. "The young lord of the house of Baron MacLine has arrived." With an overly loud announcement of his arrival, all eyes turned to Logan. "Who's that?" MacLine? Is there such a family? He's clearly a country bumpkin. Oh my, look at those tasteless party clothes. However, Logan wasn't really there for their attention. A party was a social playground for making connections with more influential individuals, or to seek appealing companions of the opposite sex. While Logan's red hair, red eyes, and decent appearance drew some looks, they weren't enough to overcome the excessively flamboyant and seemingly expensive evening wear that he donned. And so, Logan wore a very satisfied smile. A good choice, Philip. Though it was disheartening to realize that nobody knew of his family, Logan had no interest in forging meaningless connections outside of his objective. The butterflies gathered here, chasing after the nectar, would all disappear when the storm came. He, who would survive the impending chaos and make a name for himself, wouldn't be idling away in such a functionless party in the middle of a weekday. Oh dear, how rustic. Where could he have come from? Some remote countryside. Don't bother with him. I'd hate to see your beautiful eyes sullied by filth. Logan couldn't care less about the contemptuous comments made by a nearby couple as he approached his real target. Good evening. I'm Simpson Brown, Logan MacLine. I've heard much about the renown of the House of MacLine. It's an honor to meet you. It's Baron, actually. Eh? Wasn't it Count? I'm certain that the noble lineage records I've memorized stated. Oh, my apologies. I seem to have mistaken you for someone else. The man, who awkwardly chuckled and stepped back as if he'd made an honest mistake, could be seen exchanging triumphant high fives with what seemed like his companions. You saw? I did it, right? The mouthing between the group made it clear that this belittlement was nothing more than their idea of fun. There's all kinds of people in the world. Ignoring the butterflies, unaware of the impending storm, Logan finally spotted his goal. The host of the party, Count Fallne Davis, was there. With a somewhat protruding belly, his round face wore a pleasant smile as several ladies gathered around him, sharing laughter. It was indeed strange to see the man in charge of the finance ministry at this time host a party, especially in such a corrupt nation. He's a pitiful fellow, really. Considering his family and position, he could no doubt make a fine husband. But despite having remarried and taken concubines after his first wife died at the county age of 20, he had no heirs. Because he's impotent. While analyzing the information provided by Knox, Logan had stumbled upon this man's name in 3 different ledgers, and a memory from his past life suddenly surfaced. A name that had become somewhat famous. The Count who committed suicide because of his wife. The fool can't even get it up. Whether it was an incident or his wife dropping the bombshell at a party, it had driven him to suicide. Logan found it hard to understand, but it seemed that public perception and honor mattered enough to dictate life or death for the poor man. Of course, Logan had little interest in what would become of Count Davis. He simply needed to extend a helping hand to the poor man whose family pressure forced him to yet again find another wife through such parties. Logan approached Count Davis and spoke quietly. "Excuse me, Count. A guest wishes to extend his greetings to the host of the party." "Oh, what do we have here?" "A new guest, welcome." Where might you hail from?" Count Fallne Davis, briefly taken aback by Logan's attire, managed not to burst into laughter and asked. In such open gatherings, uninvited guests were still guests. Any noble could attend these parties, so it was the host's duty to maintain decorum. "I am Logan MacLine, the firstborn of the MacLine house in the Southwest. I've come to the capital for business, and wish to greet you after hearing of your illustrious reputation. This would be true, regardless if one was a mere merchant from an obscure corner of the countryside. He was a model noble, new to show respect." "Oh, business? There's nothing you won't find in Grandia." "Ha, but perhaps you bring something new from the frontier." He insulted, but with a twist. Such was the true language of nobility. Fallne secretly admired his own clever verbal play. The stress from the party seemed to ebb away just a little, but it seemed as though this country noble didn't quite grasp the social context. Indeed, I came confident I had something you lack. Ah, is that so? What might you be selling? Fallne responded, but it was clear that he had little interest. Medicine. A rare one, the likes of which are not found elsewhere. Ah, I see. Then I'll be on my way. It's particularly beneficial for men, especially for nighttime activities. Logan whispered the last part swiftly, just loud enough for the Count alone to hear. The sudden intrusion should have caused a stir, but the tremble in the Count's eye was undoubtedly due to something else. What do you mean? A virility tonic. A remedy so potent it can even revive the impotent, addressing erectile dysfunction. His hushed tone carried an implication that thundered in the Count's ears. However, Fallon's reaction was not what Logan expected. A young nobleman peddling aphrodisiacs? What are you implying? Fallon raised his voice so loud it drew attention, almost as if he intended to shame Logan. The surrounding ladies blushed and turned away at such a remark. From the look on his face, it was clear that the Count was skeptical. Right, he doesn't believe me, does he? Given his predicament, it's likely he had done his research. Because I'm confident of its effectiveness. Logan was unruffled, shrugged with ease, and smiled. Selling something that hardly befits nobility. However, well, commerce is free in our lands. Good luck with your endeavor. After sizing Logan up, Fallon turned away with a stiff face. Watching him go, Logan pulled out his final card. Nevertheless, as a visitor, I must show good manners. I've brought a gift to honor the esteemed individuals of the capital. A gift? Either the mention of 100 gold pieces or the sheer word gift had Fallon turning back promptly. This is Impo Rick, scheduled to sell at 100 gold per piece. It's my gift to you, Count Davis. I can swear on my noble honor that it is a top-quality remedy with absolutely no side effects. With Logan's closing words, the Count's pupils rippled like waves. Will the Count really come to buy the medicine? Probably not. The odds are higher he won't. What? Then why? But I won't just be waiting there. Ah, I see what you mean. He who digs a well when thirsty. If we toss enough bait, someone will eventually bite. Then, it's game over. That's not it. That's when the real game begins. Though worded differently, their meaning was aligned. Logan and Philip exchanged knowing smiles. In Grandia Kingdom, 3/4 of the nobility were concentrated in the capital, Grandia. Most of the honorary nobles, who made up over half of all nobility but didn't own land, resided in the capital. Even the landed nobility often left their estates to stewards or heirs, preferring to live in Grandia themselves. Most sought connections, and such networking often happened at the countless parties that filled the city with noise and bustle. A young noble from the countryside making the rounds at these parties was not a rare sight. Anyone of noble status could enter these gatherings, but not many, like Logan, arrived in such ostentatiously radiant attire. Do you have an invitation? If not, please show your identification badge. A soldier politely bowed to Logan, less out of courtesy and more to contain an impending laugh. After 7 similar encounters, Logan shrugged and showed his badge, now used to the routine. There should have been a bite by now. He had been laying out bait at 1 or 2 parties every day. His targets were peculiar in that they hosted parties more frequently than ordinary nobility. Is it because of an inferiority complex? A wry smile crossed his face, but the reason didn't matter much. Once a breakthrough was made, everything would start to unravel. For now, spreading as much bait as possible was pivotal. And so, Logan continued to humbly nod to a human-shaped pig that dissuaded belief with its sheer bulk. That one seems like it would need to lose some weight before it needs the potion, but let's cast the bait anyway. His efforts paid off before even 5 days had passed. You're not going to a party tonight? Logan sat on a 20,000 gold piece chair in a tight space that had been lavishly decorated to resemble an exclusive meeting room. Absent-mindedly staring at the ceiling, He responded to Philip's question after a moment. Considering whether the tacky clothes have hurt the image too much. Should we keep up the act? Don't rush things. Your strategy has been perfectly logical, just as we start to get a response. Someone is here. And with perfect timing, the awaited voice sounded. They've come. Finally, a smile spread across both their faces.